And we're going to be talking about lessons basically from other parts of the world. So India, where Alejandro has long-term experience, and also Asia. Gotcha. But keeping in mind very much this issue that we're going to be working on throughout the day, which is where Europe fits in this ecosystem. India has built up an ecosystem pretty much from scratch. Asia, we know, is a powerhouse in this field. So we're going to be listening for lessons that Europe might absorb from there and figuring out exactly what steps, what kinds of collaboration might be achieved. So Scott, welcome to the stage.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. And I look forward to learning a lot in this conversation. Let me turn to you first, Colley. What did Taiwan and South Korea do to become so powerful in microsystems?
It's a complicated question, but no simple answer. So I try to explain to you. And yesterday, yes, many people talking about TSMC, talking about cluster. How to build a company like TSMC, how to build a cluster of Taiwan. As you mentioned, I studied in Korea before. So I lived there 2 years. I speak Korean fluently. And people say I'm the best analyst about Korea in Taiwan. So I try to explain to you how Taiwan developed industry. And actually, last month, I was invited by Korean Congress to deliver 2-hour speech. The topic is beyond US-China, alternative options for Korea and Taiwan high-tech industry. Yes, we respect China, we respect America, but we need to survive. How to survive like this way? Can you believe? Today in Taiwan, we have 1,009 listed electronic companies. Only those companies last year, we create almost $1 trillion revenue. And this year, I believe the growth rate will be about 18%. And last month, in October, Taiwan is not a small country in trading business. Taiwan is one of the top 20. But last month, 78% of our Taiwan exports actually also contributed by electronics. So then Taiwan has the most important industry here. And before this time, I left Taiwan. Jensen Huang, he visited Taiwan, same day. And this time is the 5th time this year he visited Taiwan. You know, most of the industry leaders, world class, if they visit Taiwan mostly, they stay only one night, overnight, then they will leave. But 5th time, and last year, 4 times as well. Even during Computex Taipei, the most important computer exhibition, he stayed 12 days. Why? Because most of his ecosystem are supported by Taiwan. If you know, after ChatGPT, 1 quarter later, NVIDIA revenue was $7.2 billion. But last quarter, they expand to $57 billion, 7 times, and they predict $65 billion this quarter. So there's a big deal. Timing means a lot. And timing means you need ecosystem to support that. But when Jensen say AI is eating software, and he also say software is eating the world, but my comment is could hardware also eat AI? If we don't have the replacement, we will be the winner. As you know, to build a 2-nanometer production line costs you $20 billion mostly. And this year, as I know, in Taiwan, TSMC, they have 11 factories under construction, and they predict 12 next year. So that is a big deal. As you know, the last quarter, TSMC gross margin was 59%, with the net profit 43%. They almost invest all of his net profit into CapEx every quarter. And now they are 9 times market share than Samsung, number 2. So no competitor in this way. Even new technology. I always say that to learn the new technology will be more important than technology itself. So yesterday, yes, I believe I listened to many gentlemen, ladies, you mentioned about advanced chips, packaging testing, a lot of things, or photonics. I also believe this kind of new technology will happen in the coming years, maybe not 1 or 2 years, but 5 to 10 years is most possibly. But how to build an ecosystem to help the industry commercialize, realize all of the products together will be very important, very important. Before I came, I tried to organize the top 50 semiconductor company worldwide basis. I found the total market value was about $12 trillion, 70% from an American-based company, and 33% from Taiwan. But Taiwan market value today is even bigger than China plus Korea plus Japan. Can you believe? Do you know that the market value of Taiwan stock market today, our scale equal to Germany? But we are only 23 million population country, small country, even say. So how we build the industry? And today, Europe, only 6%. And you're talking about you want to support or sponsor get from EC or different countries. But trust me, semiconductor industry is not a wild industry anymore. It's a central control industry, controlled by China, controlled by America. And now, only Taiwan, they don't listen to government because they are too big. Only TSMC, they contribute 9% of Taiwan total GDP. They have 80,000 some people work there. But as I say, we have 1,000 listed electronic companies. Government acts, every company need to release financial reports monthly basis, every month. So it's not difficult for us to collect data. Can you believe this time my company, I'm the founder of this company, we publish 100 to 120 articles about high tech only, every day. And we also published 350 reports last year. But I have a very good data bank, about 1,000, but 1,000 is not enough. We have 500 global basis companies, includes Infineon, includes NVIDIA, AMD, Broadcom. Then we can cross-check all of the information together. So we only focus on high tech. We only focus on supply chain. That is the strength of Taiwan. And I try to let you know, people talking about the global market was $628 billion. That is American-based, American perspective. And the number came from two sectors. One is fabless, one is IDM. Only those two companies, those two countries, industry, has a real brand to the market. But once you get into the market, you found 73%. We focus on logic IC, 27% from memory. Once you get into the end market, 39% for computing devices, 30% for communication, includes wireless and networking. Then we have the consumer electronics, we have automobile, we have industrial PC. But most of the Western-based perspective, they don't count industry. As I mentioned, 628 from those two industries, but they don't count equipment, they don't count foundry, materials, EDA2, IP. If you count together, last year, the total industry revenue is bigger than 1 trillion. There's an industry perspective. They don't care about market demand. So we need to think about a different way. If you want to build your industry, not only end market, IDM or fabless, you need to think about equipment ecosystem. And I wrote a book about quarterfinals game, who will win a game. I mean, 8 countries in the quarterfinal, includes America, Taiwan, Korea, and Japan, EU, India, or China. China will become the white cat. But who will be the number 8? I'm not sure. They got a white card, maybe in Middle East, maybe Australia, Canada, Vietnam, Singapore. Singapore has 10% chips output now, but mostly they are multinational company contribution. So I talked to Singaporean friends. Your model is outside in. Our Taiwan model is inside out. We are different. So we have the local industry almost 100%. Here is the data about Taiwan listed electronic companies, the most up to date. I believe this year growth rate will be about 18%, as I mentioned. Last quarter, now we have 75, 77%, 78% our export contributed by electronics. That's a big deal. And over past years, HP, Dell, Apple, they came to Taiwan only with one reason: cost, efficiency. But after, do you know how we spell PC? what PC stands for. Personal computer, right?
Yeah.
In Taiwan, we say price below cost. We need to forecast 20% down within 1 year. But after 20 years, 30 years, we build the ecosystem. We don't have the competitor. So we have the best. And then server companies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, once they want the products, they have to come to Taiwan because they want to monopolize everything together. So Taiwan has the best. Maybe you didn't know, 93% of the IS servers now also produced by Taiwanese makers. Only America, last year, they have been imported $61.9 billion from overseas. 7% from Mexico, 26% from Taiwan, but Mexico also Taiwanese produced for. So China even $11.8 billion last year from overseas, 40% from Taiwan, the rest percentage made from Vietnam, from Malaysia. They all produced by Taiwanese makers. So we build the ecosystem. There is a reason why Taiwan succeeds. So you mentioned about a lot of things about ecosystem cluster, but you need to understand the key success factors behind foundry. Process technology, client structure, ecosystem, everything. I don't have enough time to explain that, but I try to let you know. We are so different from others, and trust me, TSMC, Morris-Chang, he is a learning curve believer. Once he get leading position, he will invest more. This is the business model of Taiwan we have today. There is a value surge 15 times over 10 years or something like that. So here is a framework. I explained the three major variety, AI, semiconductor, and Mr. Trump. And we need a framework to understand what, and use AI empower all of the answer and based on the framework. So it's my recommendation, but I don't have time to explain too much. So you can try to think about tech giants, foundry, and co-work with others. Okay, I try to explain within 10 minutes. I hope you can understand a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will follow up on a lot of what you had to offer, but let's turn to Alejandro now. How did India become such a magnet in the semiconductor industry?
India has a long history when it comes to semiconductors, and not a straightforward one. So they did start in the 60s investing heavily into education. And particularly along the decades, the government did try to promote a lot of STEM education. Now, in the 80s, the government made a decision to try to create sovereignty with technology and semiconductors. So they did create what was the Semiconductor Complex, the SCL, which was a manufacturing site, centralizing in promoting the latest, at that moment, nodes and technologies in the time. They were being very successful. It was created in 1984, I believe, and it went until 1999 when a disaster happened and the whole centrum was burned out. After that, many companies did, Western companies did start to invest in what it was India, at that moment in time, a country, a best cost country, particularly when it comes to knowledge, students. And they created a lot of centers of development, which were attached to the headquarters, mostly in the US, right? And some of them in Europe. This is something that has developed in the last years, and not until now, in the recent decade and a half, is when the government has changed into focusing again into, we want to do more than that. We have lots of engineers, maybe not enough for all the industry that they have, right, and to grow, but they have a lot of engineers, they have a lot of knowledge. They are one of the biggest countries, at least in volume, when it comes to designers in semiconductor. But they are not in the rest of the chain of semiconductors. So the government said, no, we need to change that. And they decided recently to start focusing in creating more ecosystem. What I mean with that is that each country is a little bit different. It comes from a different background, right? In the case of India, they had the trump card of knowledge, education, talent. They didn't have the rest of the ecosystem. In order to create it...
It had a great volume of talent, too.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
most certainly. But that talent needs to go somewhere,
Yeah.
right? So far, most of the industries in the country were being driven by external companies, foreign companies. And what they were creating were simply hubs of design. The rest of the chain of added value within the process was not there. Manufacturing was not there. That does not mean that manufacturing is a must-have, right? But it's true that it does help bring in some other elements when it comes to developing the ecosystem. What I was going is that at some moment in time, if you look in the different countries in the last decades which have been successful in semiconductors, there has been one element which is common to them, to the vast majority of them. Not all of them are the same. And that is, at some moment in time, the government or the persons in charge have either a vision, a plan, an intent to actually push forward specific market or industry. And that helps a lot.
Mm-hmm. Well, how did the Indian government under various administrations undertake to do that? Was it tax advantages? Was it educational opportunities? What was it?
So when it comes to government support, to make it short and simple, you can make it in two different ways. You can either promote via funding, give you money, get me something out of it. That's somewhat successful, and I say somewhat because a percentage of that can end up being wasted to some extent. The other capability or the other possibility is to use the tools that the government has to promote, to regulate the industry, which, if done properly well, it doesn't cost a penny. You can say, for example, actually, this is a good example from now. If you look at India, and I think I've discussed it in one-to-ones in the different one, you have something like 600 million fans out there. That's a rough estimation. The vast majority of those fans are currently using Chinese chips, which they are defined by their cost, not particularly by the energy efficiency of the chip. Well, one way of promoting is to say, we're going to elevate the regulation of those energy-related chips so that their efficiency goes from, just making it up, between 30% up to 45%. Now, if you put on top of that, and I want those chips made in India, or designed in India, or sourced in India, depending on whatever the country needs at that moment in time. You're already promoting the development of, and you give 2-3 years for that to come into place. You're already promoting the development of the industry, which needs to serve that. You already have a demand within the country, 600 million, right? And the outcome is fantastic. Just start putting it up 10, 15, 20% of the energy consumption of those 600 million pieces. You end up talking about a nuclear central out of the blue every day.
So it sounds like you create a demand, and then that stimulates the creation of an industry.
Absolutely. As long as you're focusing, you need to manage it properly, right? Yeah. I want everything done here. Nah, it's not going to work. And it's something that, for example, China has done in the last decades. China started 15, 20 years ago. No, we're going to do 20% of this needs to be made in India, and made in China. At the beginning, it didn't work. Everybody knew it didn't work. But they started moving. And then they said, no, it's not going to be 20%, it's going to be 30%. No, now I want 50%. Slowly, they were increasing. China comes from a different background, right? They started with manufacturing as such. But manufacturing did not have the most added value of the technology. It did bring a lot of help, absolutely, for the economy, and it did grow the talent and the knowledge and know how to work and all that. But the best added value was, as it was mentioned here in yesterday, coming from companies in the Western. In the case of India, they have design capabilities, but not the rest of the chain. So now the government is considering adding, on one side, they are focusing on manufacturing, but on the other, they are also starting to realize that there needs to be something more than that. Mm-hmm. Because just manufacturing is not the panacea for the future in itself alone. Yeah. But it does help with the use of resources. It does bring a lot of people into the economy, right? And it spreads out pretty easily because of the sourcing.
Yeah. Is there, in your judgment, a clue for Europe in what India's experience has been?
Yain, which is the... I'm living in Germany for the last 2.5 decades, and maybe this is the best German word that I know. It stands for yes and no at the same time. So, first point, yeah. As I have mentioned from time to time, Europe does not exist. The European Union does exist. The European Union is nothing more but a bunch of countries who have agreed in some mostly economic-driven decisions to have a common market, some regulations, etc. And it's a lovely, fantastic idea and concept which has served very well for the last decades. But in the last years, it's growing more and more clear that that's not enough. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about Europe, yes, there is potential to develop things, but it's going to be extremely difficult to implement them as long as the governments do not come up with an alignment. I'm not saying merging into a common family, we love each other and we know and we're going hand in hand to the future. No, that's not going to happen. But at least some kind of alignment in which direction they want to go in specific industries. And that's a huge step that's still not happening. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. The same way that you could do made in India, you could also do made in Europe with much more flexible guidelines, say 20% has to be there, or we're going to create an agency for Europe which is going to link the different hubs in Europe for technology. Not much more than that, just link them up together. You're already setting up the platform for further communication, which is today not happening, which is also something not yet happening in some countries. If I do negotiate with Italy, or if I do negotiate with Finland when it comes to semiconductors, I have in front of me the different areas of the government sitting in the same table. And they're saying, here we have that, here we have that, and if you do this, we will do that. And there is a plan, there is a vision there. Yeah. That's not happening in other countries. Does that mean that they are completely wrong? Not necessarily. Each country is a little bit different. Germany, for example, does have, historically speaking, a huge, strong industry. So the government did not need the necessity, didn't have the necessity to actually develop that. It was already there. They were already pushing and driving this stuff, right? That was not the case in other countries. So that's those countries which have not yet done that, they need to do it, or they will not be able to compete properly. Does organic growth happen? Yes, it does. You can also win the lottery if you try a lot of times, but it's going to be a hard fight, particularly because the other guys are doing the right job and you're not.
Well, hey, Colley, let me turn to you. You talk about the ecosystem that Taiwan has developed, that's able to support the semiconductor industry and stimulate it. How has that been possible in Taiwan, and are there clues for Europe in that? Has it been possible in Taiwan that is not possible in Europe?
Thank you. Actually, I've been to India more than 20 times. First time was 1992. India also tried to learn experience from Taiwan, but I would like to explain to you, we have 3 models, successful models, over past 3 decades, 4 decades. China model, Korea model and the Taiwan model. We are different. I mean, Korea, which is a top-down approach, they help neighbors, conglomerates, like Samsung, SK Hynix, like LG, they build their own system. So they have their own city, and they build vertical integration, everything. Taiwan is not that way. We are bottom-up approach because we have higher disposable income. And also like Taiwan and Korea, we all have high population density. Small dimension, it's easy to co-work together. So I mentioned about 1009 listed company, 90% of them, they located in Hsinchu and the Taipei area, 1 hour distance. And the government also created a good policy. Actually, 40 years ago, when I went back to Taiwan government recruited 20 young men to formulate a strategy for the country. I'm one of them. Actually, I was the youngest one at that time. So when I was 27, 28 years old, I need to report to our minister directly. They didn't know what is high tech.
May I ask a question? What did they say to recruit you? What did they say that attracted you?
I say, in the beginning, small and medium-sized companies don't know how to gather information, don't know how to formulate strategies for themselves. So my job is collect information and do industry study. So later, I became the boss of the think tank in 1990s, and we took off because OEM orders should flow in. HP, Dell, they subcontract 100% their PC to Taiwan. Then we built the industry, and then we created demand for IC design. So until today, Taiwan has 20% IC design industry output global basis. We are not bad in IC design. So we have everything. And you're talking about advanced chip packaging. Maybe you didn't know. Taiwan also has 48% about global market. So even you have the new technology, you would like to come to Taiwan to commercialize that. Yes, we don't know what is real, like quantum technology, like photonics, but we know how to commercialize. We know how to realize. And in the small places, one of these, as I say. So can you believe? 1,000 listed electronic companies, I knew half of the CEO or chairman. So 28 years ago, when I started my own business, Maurice Tang called me. He said, I give you money, you start your own business. Don't rely on government.
Pretty attractive.
Yeah.
Pitch, yeah.
But I raised the rest of the money only within 2 weeks. And I convinced 40 industry leaders invest my company together. Only 2 weeks. We know each other before. So it's not difficult for us to raise the money. So there is a so-called ecosystem. Then we need to think about the euro. 4 months ago, I was in London. There was a friend, he raised his hand and said, how to build an expressway between London and Taipei. If you are UK people, British, you know, if you take a taxi from Heathrow Airport to the downtown, it took about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But if you go through expressway, 30 minutes only, right? So how to build? And I say, you can invest number 6 to number 20 Taiwan IC in the house. They ask me, why not number 1, number 5? Because I say number 1 is too expensive. Number 1 is MediaTek. They have 70 billion as market value. If you invest 10%, you get one seat or board member. Then you know how to leverage Taiwan. Taiwan margin is lower. Lower means you need a better infrastructure, otherwise it's impossible to survive. So now, European companies not only talk about the high-end technology, that is good. I believe they are good, but you need complementary to think about even component distribution. I used to be the board member of WPG. WPG, this company will be about 30 billion revenue company this year. And they carry, chairman told me, they carry 300,000 items of semiconductor. You cannot produce 300,000. It's impossible. So the rest of the components, even India, if you want to build the industry, you do yourself. The complementary, you can come to Taiwan to take a backup. So there's the position of Taiwan today. In Taiwan, we always say Taiwan is harmless partner because we only do subcontracting, because we are a small country. So it's impossible. We build a branding like Samsung. It's impossible. So we just follow the instruction from NVIDIA, from Broadcom, from AMD, and then we succeed. So there is a secret behind Taiwan story.
Alejandro, let me turn to you and try and strike off of that. What features of the success of the semiconductor industry in India do you think can at least suggest something to countries in the European Union right now? I'm struck by the way you would, the way you described it. You would have representatives from pertinent agencies at a meeting, which of course is much more difficult sometimes in Europe.
Actually, I'm going to take a comment
Yeah.
from Colley because he's very right. Semiconductor is huge. The supply chain, the whole potential opportunities for a country to develop in semiconductor, it's impossible for you to grab it all. And even if you try because you happen to be the second biggest country in the world or whatnot and you have 1 billion, it's not going to work. You're going to have 1 or 2 good guys in doing something and the rest will be mediocre at the best, right? And those do not last long. So that means each and every country, and that's one of the things you need to understand, and every country needs to understand, each and every country needs to think, where are they in today's position when it comes to that technology or semiconductor, and understand where do they want to invest or focus in order to create an ecosystem around it. May that be materials, may that be manufacturing, may that be tools, may that be design, may that whatnot, and build about it or around it. That's the first decision. If you say, no, I'm going to put money, I'm going to be business. Thank you very much, it was a pleasure. Not going to work. Now, the second one, and this is what I mentioned before. I would love to see a national plan with leaders and general directors appointed to manage the construction and the development of a specific semiconductor ecosystem in each country. But that's not always necessarily the case. Without the government or the politicians at some level having a vision to trying to promote that, you're going to be running the race with just one leg. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. It's going to be an uphill battle. Particularly if you are not, if you want to do that, it's because you are not already the expert on anything, right? So
Yeah.
you want to grow up. So you need that element that helps, facilitates that. It doesn't necessarily need to be money, although it helps, obviously, but you need to have that legislation which allows for it to happen.
Yeah.
Because small companies do not know, and they need the link, and they need the help.
I don't have to tell you, money is often a demonstration of sincerity,
Oh, yeah.
as opposed to regulations. Is this an opportunity for people right now in the semiconductor industry to be able to make that kind of appeal and make a popular argument that can succeed?
Yes and no. We need to always understand who are we talking
You
to.
really like that German word, don't you?
Yeah. Well, reality tends to be a little bit more complicated than just
Yeah.
white or black, right? When you talk with government or politicians or in the higher levels, you need to always understand what's their interest and what's their point of view as well, right?
Yeah.
And being able to convince them that something is possible, right, needs to also be going hand in hand of being easy to implement without creating havoc within their view of their economy or their decisions in the politics. But if I go one step back and I go to your first comment in the question, which is the money. Is money important? Absolutely. Do you need to start having money from the get-go? Not necessarily. Go to Israel. Israel started 2.5 decades ago with needs, a lot of needs. And this is one element which I haven't discussed a lot here. Hunger and move away from complacency, it's very important in order to develop anything, in any kind of industry. So they had hunger. They didn't have money. They didn't have technology. But they did start in connecting the dots between the talent and the industry. And the money came 10, 12 years later. The government started funding, and then venture capital out there said, oh my God, there is money to be made here. These guys have small-time things, but I could do money out of it. And money started flowing and flowing and flowing. Money was not there from the get-go. It was not. But there was talent and there was need, and companies started connecting the dots. That flexibility was allowed because, on one side, the government wasn't absolutely, guys, do whatever it is needed. No regulation cutting things down. So there was a promotion of making it happen. So it's possible to get there if you allow the participants, the players in the field to start connecting the dots, but you need to facilitate.
Yeah. So investment followed success.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let me, how are we on time? I'm a little confused. Since
we're sort of on time. I mean,
okay, wound up. Well, let me pose with a question that each of you, what advantages does Europe bring to the table now in the semiconductor industry? If you were looking at it and offering advice, which I guess I'm asking you to do, what are some distinct advantages that Europe might bring to the semiconductor industry now?
Yes, I have something I want to remind you. Automobile industry is very important for Europe. And as you know, NXP, Infineon, STMicro, no less than 30% their revenue from automobile industry. There is the most beautiful opportunities for Europe. But now, China become the #1 car exporting country in the world. They are even overpassed Japan. But trust me, China has the best edge computing devices, not only car, but also drone, but also robotics, many things. Then there is a challenge for everyone, because we didn't know the cost structure. We didn't know how China government to subsidize the companies. It is sometimes it's unfair competition. But as a follower, I mean economic follower like China, we need to think about carefully about their steps. And now, finally, I want to make a comment. We predict, I mean, this time, my company predict China semiconductor market expansion, CAGR, from 2024 to 2030 will be about 8.6%. Then data from SEMI, mostly, even 2024, 2023, China contribute even 40%. There's a big proportion. But if China cannot sustain 8.6% growth in the coming years, then we will suffer that kind of things. And how to make it balance? Because the industry needs balance. We need healthy capital investment, then we can keep growing. So it's a big challenge for everyone. Now it's very difficult. So I try to make it short, and we need, especially I recommend, and I strongly recommend, European countries need to understand what Asian countries doing today. You don't know much about that, as I know, because yes, I pay visit to many companies. They visit us a lot, so I understand that. So I will try to convince EC or you need a new plan. Just like 40 years ago, when I went back to Taiwan, we start from scratch. We didn't know anything. The year when I went back to Taiwan was the first year for personal computer, not because I went back, because Microsoft launched Windows same year, because Taiwan tried to identify what means for IBM compatible PC from that year on. And next year, 386 introduced by Intel. Then we have Southbridge, Northbridge. There is a standard design. Then Taiwan know how to follow. We are small potato. It's impossible we set up a standard for a global basis. It's impossible. We are just follow. We follow what we can do. That is the business way we have today. So think about if Europe want to build your ecosystem for semiconductor, you need to talk to Taiwan. You need to talk to Korea sometimes. So it depends. So firstly, before that, you need to build, redesign your industry policy and strategy as well.
Okay. And I turn to you, Alejandro. Your experience in Europe, are there some gifts that Europe can bring to the semiconductor industry now?
Yes. actually Europe has been already bringing those gifts for a long time. Europe has an extremely capable and well experienced and educated talent field. Absolutely amazing. One of the tops by far in the world. And actually they have been talking with Asia and Korea and Taiwan for a long time. The problem is Europe has been complacent for decades now. Complacent in we're the center of the world, we already have our economy, I'm big enough, I don't need more, this is comfortable, I already have this, my German cars are the best of the world. These guys, whatever are doing, they are not going to ever reach to our quality of cars because I'm German and I know better, etc., etc.
It's a pretty devastating impersonation.
It is. Yeah. It is. But unfortunately, it has been what they were showing in the last decade. And from one moment to the next one, they found out, holy cow, whoops. And they are cheaper, and they work, and they look nice. Now, what they could do, they bring already a lot to the table. What they need to bring it is to the table outside, and they need to bring it to the table outside aligned. They are not going to be able to compete like in the past, saying, me, Germany, alone, and I'm going to make it alone. No, they need to start aligning with other companies in the region, because together they will be stronger.
I hate to jump in here. Together they will be stronger. It's a great message, but we do need to wind up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott.